And obviously, everyone wants to know what you think about the proposed indoor sports complex. The mayor prefers not to call it a 10. So what are your thoughts about that? And then I'm going to follow that up with a couple more questions. But what are your basic thoughts and opinions, ideas about the proposed indoor sports complex?
Well, my first thought is that we, as a council and a community, we've got to do something to jumpstart the economy. We can't sit and wait for somebody else to come in and do it for us.
Okay.
If we don't take the bull by the horns, it's not going to happen, and we cannot languish in what we've been doing for the last 2 years or 3 years. We've got to do something positive.
Okay.
If the numbers come in, if the guarantees and warranties and all those things that are pertinent to the new complex make sense, I think we really have to give it a serious look and to approve it. Brian Dangerfield and the economic development team have put together some pretty interesting numbers, as well as from the LVCVA. And if those numbers even come close to materializing, I think it's just an absolute boon for the community. There's been some conjecture about the location, and some of the Sun City residents have voiced their opinion about that. I think at the proposed location, if it can be just tweaked or altered just a little bit so it's not so much out in public view, it could work well. But I really think that we have to give it some serious consideration, and again, if the numbers and warranties and guarantees come in, I will absolutely support it.
Would you support exploring a different location than up near Flat Top Mesa and near the existing Sports and Events Complex Center? A lot of people have suggested a more central location to the downtown area, the business area along Mesquite Boulevard, something down in there that would make it more centralized to Mesquite itself. Would you consider that?
I think a more downtown, if I may use that location, would probably be at least as beneficial, if not more, than the current proposed location. However, due to the proximity of the sports and events complex that we have now, I think that might make more logistical sense versus economic sense, or maybe both.
Okay.
If it can't be located and not become an eyesore, and the colors blend in with the surroundings and the topography, I think it could work well there if it's not just right out in slap you in the face public view.
Yeah, okay. What are your thoughts about the continued partnership with NCS? They are proposing the amphitheater project. So talk to us a little bit about that aspect.
Well, we've been in partnership with NCS since, I believe, 2004.
Yes.
We've got a storied history. I believe the original agreements and concepts were very valid and were put in place at probably the right time. Unfortunately, the economy went sour and nothing materialized. I still think they're a viable partner. They seem to have the best interests of Mesquite at heart, and they've obviously have a lot of time and effort involved here. So for them to totally abandon us, I don't think would be prudent.
Okay.
As far as the amphitheater goes, I don't think that it's a good idea at this time. I think eventually, if we could get the sports and events complex, or for lack of a better word, the sports tent, and I don't like to use that word, if we could get that in, and maybe in conjunction to that, being that the proposed amphitheater is just a short distance away, it eventually both projects could work.
Okay.
And anything we can do to jumpstart the city would work for me.
Okay. At the beginning of the first 100 days, with the new mayor taking office, he made all of his committee appointments, assignments, and he named you as Mayor Pro Tem. That's a little unusual because that's usually reserved for the most senior councilman, which would be Carl Gustavson. You're second to that. Did that appointment surprise you? Are you happy with that? What kind of activities do you perform as Mayor Pro Tem? I think a lot of people are not exactly familiar with what that encompasses.
Well, slightly before Mayor Weir took office, I placed a phone call to his office, and I asked him what he had envisioned for me as a council member, because you know, I've got a pretty full schedule most of the time, and I really wanted to know in advance what he had planned for me as far as assignments or committees or whatever, so that I could start working on my calendar 90 or 100 days out.
You do stay very busy with your charity golf tournaments.
Well, I'm on the board of directors of the Virgin Valley Artists Association, the Salvation Army, the Falcon Ridge Golf Club. I have 5 or 6 charity tournaments a year. I stay pretty active, and I have a calendar to kind of maintain, and I wanted to have an idea what he had in store for me, or in mind for me.
Okay.
And we had lunch, and we chatted, and he asked me if I would consider being Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
And I was quite surprised, and I said, well, normally that goes to the senior sitting council member, and that's not me, that's Mr. Gustavson.
Yes.
And he says, I know that, and I've considered everything, and I've decided I want you to act as Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
And I told him that I would be absolutely honored and flattered, and I gratefully accepted at that point.
Okay.
And then when the appointments were officially made, of course, I accepted. The Mayor Pro Tem, and I'm not sure what the correct definition is, but I basically would act in the mayor's absence in conducting council meetings.
Okay.
And I act as his, if I may, as a right-hand man in city functions. I interact with the Chamber of Commerce, go to ribbon cuttings in his absence, and those kind of things. I'm just a kind of a liaison between his office and the public in his absence.
Okay. All right. Well,
now, I think there might be a perception, and I've heard this from someone, that as Mayor Pro Tem, you're kind of the leader of the council. Well, I don't want that perception, because I'm not the leader of the council. I'm just one of the boys, and
okay.
That's where I want to be.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting aspect there.